12th of October. Really, really going quickly already this month. Now the international window, thank God, is nearly over. I'm not the biggest fan of the international break. There's been lots of, for many reasons. One, there's no Premier League football and no other football, because you may, follow different leagues, and each league has its own good points and bad points. Let me know, as it was in the chat, where you're from. I've not been around for a couple of days. That's the beauty of when it's just you trying to run a channel. When you work full time, or a dad as well. So I have had family commitments, and hope, Scott, you're extremely well, my friend. Nice to be back, and nice to have you back, my friend. So yeah, so basically when it's just only me trying to run the channel, and you work full time and all that good stuff. So this weekend was probably perfect timing. Other than the Qatar stuff, other than the takeover stuff, which we covered and we looked about. There wasn't much going on. So Scott said, what about that goal? Now Scott is referring to his own goal. So what I'm going to say is I'm going to put some viewers' goals up. So if you do play FC 26, send me your goals and I will put them onto the channel. So far as Scott is really, really proud of his goal that he scored today. And I have to say, it's a pretty good goal. Very, very good. So I will put that up on the channel. So watch that. But yes, send me your goals. Let's see if you can beat Scott's goal. I'm gonna be the judge of it as well. So it's gonna take quite a bit to beat that goal, Scott, from Isaac. Pretty good goal, to be fair. So yeah, guys, let me know in the chat where you're from. This is an evening show. We do these shows, and they are, I am gonna steer it to the news a little bit tonight, just because I haven't done a show. But then after that, feel free to get into the chat. Let me know where you're from. It doesn't matter if you don't support United. All that matters is that you are respectful to the channel, respectful to the people, respectful to the mods, respectful to yourself, and we can get into it. And we can go off on a tangent. Hello from Turkey. Hello, my friend Fenerbahce. Hello, Letitia. Hi, I hope you're doing extremely well. I am booking another holiday for next October. Nice one, Scott. I mean, what can I say? Mate, you've been on more holidays than no. I think we've pretty much been on the same amount of holidays, I think, this year so far. But Scott is a legend, and the mod in the chat. So AR Liverpool v United. We can briefly talk about that as well. We'll probably talk about that towards the end of the show, because it'll give us something to talk about next week, and when we can get into it as well. And Scott says, I go away in 5.5 months as well. Lovely. R006 says, hi, brother. Hello, my friend. Yes, Scott, just to rub it in, my friend. I'm going away as well at Christmas time. I can't tell you. It's a secret, but I'm going to go away as well. Andrew Kelshaw says, have you ever been to Scarborough in Yorkshire at the Blue Dolphin Holiday Park? No, I haven't. I really haven't. I have been to Yorkshire, but I've never been to the Dolphin Holiday Park, my friend. Never have. Is it nice? Let me know. Monarch says, hey, I'm new. What you do looks interesting on conversation. What's the interest of conversation? So we're a United fan channel, but we are so much more than that. We are so much more than that on this channel. One of the things that I pride myself on here is that even though there are super chats, memberships, and all that kind of stuff on here, I don't really push it. I'm probably the worst salesman in the entire world. Dino, welcome to the chat, my friend. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I will try and read out your super chats. This is why these shows take so long, is because I respect your opinion. I'm not a dictator in this chat. It isn't my word, and that's the end of the conversation. I won't wait until the end to read your chats. I will literally read your chats. I will talk about stuff, read your chat, and we just have a conversation about football. I'll get into your opinions on different things as well. And as I say, just because I have an opinion doesn't mean it's right. Sometimes it can be wrong. But we will do share our opinion. Like I said, I was thinking about going for Christmas next year. Scott, I'd love to know what's your profession, mate, because you seem like a professional holidayer, which will be cool. Letitia says, I hope we do well when we travel to Liverpool. So do I. Yeah, we can get into. I'll do a show maybe tomorrow, and we'll start talking about the Liverpool game, because that is, I think that's going to be quite a pivotal game for us. AR, have you had the opportunity to visit Mecca and Medina? No, I haven't. I haven't, my friend. I think it's Mecca is obviously a place I think that I guess many people from around the world go. I mean, billions and billions of people, right? But yeah, it's not a place that I've been, my friend. Bruno doesn't fit into the Amorin system. Firebulb. Does he fit in? He does, but just not in the 8. Is the UAE about to take over? We'll talk about that. I'll give you an update on that as well, because there isn't really. Your Green says, thoughts on Brighton. I think Brighton are a good team. And again, I've got some news on Baleba as well. We can start talking about that as well. So my thoughts on Brighton is that they're a very, very well run club. I mean, they are. I mean, what? Sometimes you get a club that will come up or been up for a little while and then do something different. Brighton are what a fantastically well-run club. Well, I mean, nobody ever thought. I mean, I remember when Brighton came up, and I think I was going to Brighton because I think I was doing some sort of marathon, and I remember thinking, we're going to see you in the Premier League next season. Brilliant. I mean, what a well-run club. The succession planning, succession planning of the manager, succession planning of players, how they're run, how they're structured. Brighton are a wonderful club. I think they're brilliant. Dino says, first, JB, have to say yes. Great to see the whole Manchester play the respects to Ricky Hatton. Yeah, agreed. Massive respect to Ricky Hatton as well. Yeah, it was fantastic. So it's very, very sad. A legend, and as well, I would, I'll talk about. I think it's important as well to talk about the significance of that as well. Wayne says, my sister lived in Spain. She died 4 years ago. Sorry to hear that, my friend. Yes, never nice to hear when a sibling dies or any sort of person. So Wayne, my thoughts are there, mate. And even though it's been 4 years, mate, it doesn't get easier. So I just come back from Spain. Hit that like button. Danny B, legend of the chat. Maguire needs to leave. Kelvin, I'll come on to that as well, my friend. It's almost like you can read my brain. Don't be cheap like the Glazers. Hit that like button. Exactly, it's free. The Glazers would probably hit the like button because it's free as well. We love Hatton in Manchester. Scott, I've always loved Hatton. I think Hatton is absolutely fantastic. And yeah, I mean, what a guy. You have no motion. What are we talking about? So we're basically going to do a news roundup show. I've not basically been around for a couple of days, so I thought I would go through the stuff that's out. So let's go through. Let me see your running shoes. I've got a load there. I've got a load up there. I've got a load down there. Are there any particular running shoes that you want to see? They are very well. They are very, very well, Scott. They are they are doing well. They've just had their evening meal of a slice of bread, and they're good. I've got to go. Can't stand your accent. Fuck off. I mean, look. If you can't stand how I talk, not a problem. Feel free to go. I mean, look. You don't need to tell me. You can just leave. But, thank you. I think Tyson Fury is a great bloke. Yeah, I do as well. I really quite like him. I think he's a down to earth. I think he's an honest sort of guy. I think what you see with him is what you get. I do think he's a sort of humble guy, but at the same time he's got that boxers. I think when he goes into the boxer mode, he's got to do all that promotional stuff, hasn't he? But I think that takes like a heavy toll on him. So I do think I think he's a good guy. He's been given a gift, and I think he probably maximises his gift. Letitia says, Kelvin, please leave Maguire alone. He's definitely done his best for the club. ISP, I'm just kidding. Lol, relax. Kelvin, Bruno is getting more corky to let me see the best running shoe you have. Like this is not a running shoe show. I'm not going to be getting running shoes out now. So I'm just going to crack on with the news. So Qatar, UAE, the sale of the club. Now, where are we at with that? So there's been no update really on that. I think there's been a lot of speculation over the last couple of days. There is no real update on that as such. Hey JB, good to hear from you again. Up the Blues, right on, and the shit on the Villa. Thank you for being here, my friend. I hope you're doing it extremely well. The legends, the chat on it tonight. So look, where are we and what can we expect? So I don't think there's going to be a sale imminently. I think there could be an offer imminently. I suspect that there could be the Banhammer is back. Scott is on it. I'm from Essex, and yeah, you have no emotion or whatever he's called, or he or she's called. They absolutely can't stand me. So there you go. He will buy me. Will you buy me a piece of spoon? I'm not sure what that means. I think you should give RA a contract extension, as neutral is bloody good. Good entertainment. I love it. So, look. Piece of spoon. Yeah, I have no idea. Anyway. So the sale, where are we in regards to the sale? So look, I think the next week or two, it might go a bit quiet. I'm cool. I've never been cool a day in my life, but thank you for saying so. So I think look, this club is going to have to come out and say something. The Glazers legally have to come out and say something. If it basically manipulates the share price, and I think it's the SEC. Based on the New York Stock Exchange, is that basically they'll have to come out and they will have to report any change. Now, do I think even the Scousers are tuned in? Math teacher JB, I am today. I am a math teacher today. Make sure that you do your homework because Anyway, so I think what we are going to see in the next week. So how much is the club worth? So there's a couple of valuations, Wayne. So there's the Forbes, of like the entire brand, and United are worth roughly about 5.7. Now, when it comes to the valuation on the stock market and the value of the shares, I think come up to something like 2.75 billion pounds, but you're going to have to then factor in the 33 pounds per share, which I think then knocks it up to about 5.7 billion pounds. So it really does depend. What's the song that sings FFF off back to London? Or I have no idea, my friend. Wouldn't get out of bed for that. I have no idea, my friend. So I think ultimately we are going to know, because we're gonna have to know. The stock exchange is going to have to know over the next week or so. If that share price goes up higher, they can be accused of manipulating the market. So it's gone very quiet. I suspect that there's panic stations. I do suspect that Sir Jim is in panic station mode. Look, we don't know. As Amorin has really said this as well, and I think this is something that's potentially being missed as well, is that Amorin did allude to a couple of weeks ago now that there are things happening in the club that we're not aware of, right? So are these the things? I know, have the Glazers, as we said in a previous show, have they stitched up Sir Jim? I mean, Sir Jim is not going to lose out on this deal anyway, so he's going to make his cash back. But has it transpired? Look, that this is far too much. I want to know your opinions on this. I need your opinions on this as well. Is because we can all guess. So my opinion on this is that there are three ways, right? Number one, this is a load of nonsense. Number two, this is investment in terms of they want somebody to come in and build the stadium. That's where I'm at on it. Or is it a full sale? Now, I am of the opinion, only because of what we've experienced before with the Glazers, they are not. They will hoodwink you no matter what. So they will have you believe that there is a potential sale when what they're looking for is an investment. So my initial thoughts are on this: is this a way, a ploy? You have to cast your mind back to the summer when the Glazers were in Qatar. They were out there trying to get this investment. Have they now secured it? Have they now secured the UAE? Have they now secured Dubai? Qatar? Have they secured some sort of deal that they'll come in, they'll build the stadium, infrastructure, get that done? That's kind of where I'm thinking. Or is it a full sale? Have they just gone, look, we have seen the finances. The results have just come out, £668 million, still making a loss. There's transfer debt, there's the debt on the club. Is it worth, and potentially they know as well that it's going to be such a long, protracted saga to get the land done, because don't forget, they need to buy the freight line land as well, and they're asking for £500 million. Is it just come to a stage where actually it's too much? So, I'd love to know your opinions on this. Do you think that this could happen? Do you think significantly it could happen? Do you think that this is all a ploy to get money? I'd love to know your opinions on that. So feel free to get your opinions in on that. Is the club worth that sort of money? Wayne, I think ultimately, I think something's only worth what you're prepared to pay for it, right? So when you factor in, so I think, Wayne, the key thing here is when you factor in the brand. The club, according to Forbes, and whether you believe Forbes or not, is worth, in terms of brand and what is worth, 5.75 billion, right? But then when you factor in the potential for the stadium, you factor in brand, you factor in the land around the stadium. If UAE come in, they will get that done. And then you're talking commercial deals, particularly then if the club does well. You could argue yes. You could also argue no. But I think is the club worth that? Probably is. But it's only is worth as much as somebody wants to pay for it. So we're going to see, and I think we're going to see quite quickly. Kelvin says, our club has a massive fan base. Why doesn't our opinions matter? Sure, Maguire need to retire. Kelvin, I am with you. I know there are people that don't like, and we'll get on to Maguire, because Maguire is pretty much going to be offered a new contract. So let's get on to that as well, and to why I think that is a potential devastating move. Even if they do sell up, highly doubt the Glazers will sell the entire share. They'll keep their fingers in the pie if they can. And I'm with you. I'm with you, Real. I am of this opinion right now, until a full sale is announced. I am of this opinion that the Glazers want to secure this deal. Look, I've spoken about this so many times. You have to realise who you're dealing with. You have to realise, and yes, they're not their father, but they've been, they are taught in the ways of the Glazer empire. And the Glazer empire is leverage debt, and you buy things with assets, and you don't use your own money. So if they can, Nathan says, hi Nathan, I hope you're doing extremely well. So if you are looking at indicators, and you have to look at these, right? If you look at those over the last 20, 25 years, to me, logically, they want investment. They want someone else to come in, build. They wouldn't care if they have to bring their shares down, as long as they've got some sort of control, some small control. They don't care, right? And that is where I think they are. However, there does come a point where you go, look, they've got no more money. There is nothing else that they can really do to bring more money into this club other than cuts. And the problem with football is, if you're not successful on the pitch and you don't have games, eventually you lose your fan base. Eventually you lose games. Eventually you become more of an irrelevant club. So has this now hit home, the fact that they've maximised? It's like having a credit card that you max out. There's nothing else that they can bring in to make more money that they need to bring the debt down and to make more cash for them. The only way that they can make a profit and make the sort of money that they want to now is to sell the club. But is that what they really want to do? It is my question. African will never unite. The Saudis have a lot of money. United is cheap for them. Wayne says you should be better with an American buy than Saudi buy. I mean, Wayne, look, I mean, just because, and I've got to be fair here, I have said this. Do I necessarily want oil money? Do I necessarily want all that stuff? No. I want a club that is owned in the right way. I want the debt gone. But that's not going to happen. So, look, Wayne, the Glazers are American. So if you're going to offer me that again, then the answer is a big fat no, because we've had our fingers burnt before. So if you're offering me American buys rather than Saudi buys, I think it's like frying pan and fire. I think it's what's the lesser of two evils. Liam Jones says, Qatar said the UAE are completely separate countries. I think we must understand this. I can't help but feel we conflate the Middle East as a homogeneous region. I thought Qatar were part of the UAE. They're all part of the United Arab Emirates, aren't they? I know they're different kingdoms, but they're not the same thing. But I always thought they were part of different kingdoms, but they all fell under that banner. I mean, if I'm wrong, I know, but I thought they all fell under that region. And of course, they're not the same thing, but they are the United Arab Emirates. So again, I might be wrong on that one, but I'm not saying for 1 second, and there is a separation here, that Qatar, Saudi are not the same thing. I completely agree with you. They're not the same thing. But I thought the UAE were Iran, Saudi. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Liam, you can fill us in, my friend. You sound like a guy who has $100 million in the account. I wish I did, mate. I just want the Glazers out of our club. I hope the Saudis could do us the favour and take United off the hands of the Glazers. I hope so too as well. Yes, Kevin, he is so smart. He done more daytime shows. The channel would be already huge. Yes, Kelvin, he is so smart. If he did more daytime shows, the channel would be huge already. He hopefully can diversify and open up to other clubs. I don't quite know what you mean by that, Nathan. Don't quite know what you mean by that, Nathan. Is that aimed at me? Because I don't know, mate. I work full time. I've got a full-time job, family. It's difficult, mate. It is hard. Game over for Jim and the Glazers. Liverpool FC have had American buyers for the last several years now, and the club has done well. Look, when in life, my friend, you do get good people and bad people. You get good buyers and bad buyers. if you offered me a good American buyer, mate, I 100%. Look, if there was a way for me, the way that I would personally like to run a club, doesn't mean it's right, doesn't mean it's wrong, doesn't mean it would be the best way to do it. I'd much prefer a model whereby it is owned by fans, or you could have a situation where the controlling percentage is by the fans, or a significant percentage is owned by fans and other people, but they all have to agree together, and it really is a collaborative effort, and everyone gets a voice. And then we basically, there is no debt involved. You can bring money into the club by X amount of means, but everything is done in the right way, and the club is secure for years and years to come. Now that is never going to happen. Okay, if you offer me American owners who are going to be good custodians of the club, and they're going to own the club in the correct way, I'm not asking for oil money, right? I'm not asking for trillions and billions of pounds to be pumped into this club. I just want a club that is going to be secure, that's going to be competitive, and even if it means that an owner comes in, clears the debt, and goes, look, it's not going to be billions and billions of pounds, but it's going to be run in the correct way, and it is. I'm up for that as well. Kelvin says, Casemiro needs to get a therapist. He's a good player, but attracts fouls and cards. But not everybody like the Glazers. Yep. Carl says, you're buying the wrong players. You need to start off British-born players and boot it from there. Only British players understand. Carl, look, that's a I'll always say I'll read out your chats because I respect them. If I comment back, I'm not saying that your opinion is wrong. I'll just give an opinion as well, right? I would. So Nathan says no. Qatar is Qatar. UAE is made up of several emirates worth looking into. Cool. No, I know that there's a distinction between the UAE and Qatar. I think that's where my misunderstanding is I always thought Qatar was part of that. But Nathan, legend, my friend. Iran is across the water from UAE. I'll have to look at that because I do, because the one thing I will always say, if I make a mistake, I will say, look, I will not, I will say that I sort of have, but I will look at that more because I do not want to give the false information out, because I do like to be educated on all this stuff, because it's really it's important, right? Because it would annoy me and you if somebody was talking about your country in a way that wasn't right. So I said you're buying the wrong players. You need to start off with. So Carl, mate, as an opinion, that's your opinion, and cool. If you wanted to run your club in that way, the only thing I'm going to say about that is Haaland, Rodri, Isaac, Alisson, Enzo, Van Dijk. What team buys British players and wins leagues? United did it early doors, but Henry. Henry was one of the greatest players. He's French. Aguero, Salah. I'm not dismissing, but all I'm saying is I agree that we're buying the wrong players, and 100% agree that we are buying the wrong sort of players. But I don't necessarily agree that we just need to buy British players. We do need to have a British contingent in there, but I personally don't think that we need British players. I think maybe we need more Premier League proven players. But I don't necessarily, and this is just my opinion, think that we need to buy British to become better. I think we need to buy the right sort of players. And I think that's probably more Premier League proven players. You can't even win 2D games in a row. Murray, thank you for stating the obvious. We can't. Wouldn't that impact United's infrastructure and demographics? What, in terms of UAE? Um, possibly. Infrastructure wise, you're talking about if we bought like the club. Of course it would do. It would impact everything. I mean, I'm not saying that that's the answer, but if we did that, it would absolutely impact that. Would it even make it worse? Because if you then wanted to vote anything through, for example, if you wanted to buy a player and you had to vote everything through, would that make it more complex? I'm just talking about look. I've not spent time and time thinking about the sort of ownership and what the issues that it would mean, but from a purely hypothetical dreamland, now I would much prefer this club, and in fact most clubs, to be a big chunk of it to be owned by the fans. But in a real world, that just won't happen. Chelsea have American owners and spent well. I don't know. I think they've spent, and I think they've spent okay. Like I'm by no means saying that American owners are bad. We've just been unlucky. I don't know. I mean, do you think Chelsea's owners have spent well? I think they've spent money. I don't know if they've spent well, but I know they've spent money. If you could buy 3 or 4 British players who had a voice in the dressing room and start from there, you would improve overnight. It's interesting. I mean, look, it's an interesting opinion that I don't disagree with. If you put in there, okay, and I'll think about it from your perspective, and we'll go, okay. So do you know what you could get Kane in there? I think Kane would improve it. Midfield, yeah, you could probably put you could have Rice in there as well. I think Rice would add something in there. Kane, maybe you could do Anderson in there as well. I mean, I don't know what he's like in terms of that. Probably Reece James as well. So Carl, look, mate, you make a good point. The only caveat to that I'm saying is that just because you've got a nucleus of English players I don't necessarily think that it means you suddenly become better. But I do take the point that but again, you could also argue if you took those sorts of players from Argentina, from Brazil, would you improve as well? But I do take the point. I think it's a very, very valid point. Have to pack us flying to work tomorrow. Tuesday, be enjoying your content, mate. Thank you, Nathan. As always, my friend. Solomon Thompson, hello, my friend. Kelvin says, to sell the club, we first need to improve the game. UAE can buy the club. Hopefully, they'll improve our home pitch. You're saying, Jamal, hope Saudi buys United City are owned by Arabs. Look how high they are. True. Them's are facts. Liam says, Saudi is a different nation to the UAE. I understand the confusion as Turkey is Saudi, but he simply said he heard that was investment coming not from Saudi. Liam, I'm going to have to look into that. I can't even look at that now, but I definitely, Liam, take the point, my friend, and I definitely need to. That's the one part of the world I'll say that my geography is not the best on that. Anywhere else in the world are pretty good, but not that part. Letitia says there's no comparison between Americans who bought Liverpool and the Glazers. The Liverpool Americans are. It's true. Look, Letitia, it's true, and there is no comparison. You cannot just because somebody has done something to you doesn't mean someone else will do the same thing. But when you have PTSD from the original person that's done something, I still think it's very fair to question. And I'm not just talking about American owners here. I'm talking about owners. So I think that whatever owners come in, I don't care if they've got billions and trillions of pounds, we need to do that. We absolutely need to make sure that we get this right. But Letitia, you're 100% right, 100% right. There's not enough good, although English players around. That's why there's so many foreign players in the Premier League. That's true. Abhishek Kumar says, hi, where are you from? I'm from the Ukraine. The concept that British players teams have a core of English died about 20 years ago. Liam, they did. I agree, but who's your leaders in your dressing room? You don't have any, and your problem is people are walking into your club with no pressure because all the men before have failed. And Carl, I have spoken about this so many times on here, and I agree with you completely, is that if you looked at, and again, I think there was certain times you can go back to the past to look at how you can run the club, right? And is that if you look at, and you're right, if you looked at, even going back 2011 or 12, right? You've still got who's in that side. So you've still got Rio was in that side. Rooney was in that side. Van Persie was in that side. I think Vidic was in that side. Giggsy was still there. And whether or not they were at the peak of their powers, you still have captains, right? And you're right. What we were able to do is bring in youth players. And because you had captains in that side, they would quickly come up to a level, right? We don't have that now. Imagine, right? You go and train, right? So imagine you're Cristiano, right? You're this young buck who thinks that you're this world's next amazing player. You're 18, right? And you think that you're this superstar and you're going to be this next big thing. And the first session that you have, Roy Keane sticks one on you, like Giggsy sticks one on you, Scholesy, and you quickly learn, right? And then you go onto the pitch and you know that these people like have your back, and you know that you've got to run through brick walls every single game, and we don't have that. I've said this many times. We've got Maguire, and I'll pivot to that for a second, right? So there's talk of Maguire is going to be offered a contract. So Maguire has turned down Saudi money, and there's going to be a contract offered on the table to Maguire. Okay, so the whole purpose of this is because the leadership of Maguire, right? Maguire is seen as a senior player who's been through adversity at the club, and they want him as a shining example of a player and a leader. Oh my God. Now, I fully respect people's opinions on Maguire, right? Completely get it. I agree that he's had a redemption. I agree that he's had a really tough time, but he's kept his head up and he's come down, he's come back into the club. But oh my God, if that is the epitome of what we believe as a club is a leader, then we are screwed. Maybe I'm judging by the wrong standards, and I am from a different time, right? But if I'm looking at Maguire and he's our leader, or he's one of the people that this club deem a leader and giving him a contract, then we are screwed. And I'll give you a reason why we are. I'll give you reasons as to why I think we are screwed in regards to that. So, when you're used to Roy Keane and you're used, and Roy Keane has been gone for many years, but when you look at different clubs, and you look at Van Dijk, and then you look at Chelsea, and you look at Arsenal, and you look at just those. Now, I'm not suggesting that any of those clubs contain the leaders that they used to have in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, right? But you can see that they've got leaders in there. If Harry Maguire is being kept because he's a leader, oh my God. I mean, if that is now the epitome of a leader in this club, then we are screwed. Now, to go back onto that as well. Now, yes, look, Maguire, my problem with the contract here is that not only does it represent a contract to a player who should be gone, but the scary thing for me is it twofold. Number one, is this the sign of things to come next season? Now, if you think about this, if we don't get European football next season, we're screwed. And all these plans of buying these players next summer and these things that we plan to do next summer, we're not going to be able to do them. So again, we're going to be relying next season on Harry Maguire and Luke Shaw. And if we finish, we finished 15th last season. Now imagine we finish 12th this season. Harry Maguire, Luke Shaw, would have been presided over one of the worst finishes that we have ever had, and potentially two. And yet Maguire gets a new contract, number one. So it just goes to show the thinking of this club is the fact that these players, even though they have failed, despite them having a redemption arc, they're still not good enough for this club. They're still not leaders of this club. And they are going to be offered a contract. So why we not pushing these guys out the door is because it's cheap. And number two, and I think this is probably the most important thing, it stops players from coming through. Where's Heaven this season? Where is Heaven? Luke Shaw being in this team is an absolute disgrace. He's stopping young talent coming through. Maguire and Luke Shaw are stopping young talent coming through this door. Luke Shaw, why is he playing? We could have some of the best centre backs in the youth. Heaven, he was so good last year, but because of these guys, Luke Shaw, Maguire, they're stopping these young players coming through. Now, I'm not disagreeing that Maguire has come back. He's had a decent season and he's a decent player. But what are we going to do? We're going to bring him off the bench. I mean, it baffles me and it scares me. It scares me that once again Maguire's going to get a new contract because as a club we're so stagnated. We don't have money. We don't know what a leader is, and we deem Harry Maguire as a leader in this club. It's terrifying. It absolutely terrifies it just does. Hello, how are we doing today? My fire is for Madrid. I hope your night garden will be good enough to make it happen for me as I'm alive and make you happy. Interesting. Grace Legend. I hope you are doing extremely well, Grace. Legend of the chat and a good member. Kelvin says, JB, do you think changing club owners will change its performance? I do, Kelvin. Look, Kelvin, I think that we need a cultural reset. We need to purge this club. And look, I've said this many, many times before. There is not a player in this club that I would care if they went. And what I mean is that over the years, if you look at the players that we've sold or have gone or have retired, right? We've got rid of Beckham. I mean, people will, whatever people think of Beckham outside of the club or what people think of Beckham, right? Beckham was, at the peak of his powers, was a world-class player. Now, people will disagree with that. Beckham was one of those players that he thought, and I thought, would retire here, right? Roy Keane was coming towards the end of his career, but when he left, he still left, and it was awful. Rude, Rude wasn't a dusted striker when he left. He still went on to have a great career. Rude was a great striker, and he got sold. Jaap Stam, one of the best centre backs, because he apparently wrote something in a book. That's not strictly true. I mean, he got injured, he came back. Fergie thought he wasn't the same. But again, even on it as well, what an amazing player. Kanchelskis, Paul Ince, these players, Mark Hughes, some of the best players, and these players are titans. They're absolute titans compared to these players now. So there's not a single player in this squad that I would care. So I think that getting rid of these owners and taking the handbrake off and giving financially being able to compete again, it would be night and day. Carl says all great clubs have lots of leaders. United have no leaders. I agree with you. Nabil Mohammed says hi. Hello, my friend. Lobo 69669 says hi. The Glazers have to go ASAP. I agree with you. UAE can't match up with Qatar because Qatar would outbid them. Look, I hope so. I hope I hope the Sheikh is back. It's the main thing. It is. I agree. No, I'm not saying that you have to be British, but it would be a start. But on the flip side, you don't have to get the same sort of leaders these days, like Keane, Gerrard, Terry, Vieira. Look, Carl, I agree with you, mate. Look, you can't get those players, Carl, because they don't exist. You can't. It's very, very. Look, you're not going to go back to the days of Roy Keane, and I agree with you completely. But we still need a player of a mentality. Look, those players don't exist, but mentalities do exist. So you could get a mentality of Keane, just not as just not like Keane. You can still have that winner mentality. You can still have you want to go to war. You can still have that, every game you want to win every single ball and you demand 100%. You can still have that. But you're right, we don't have those sorts of players now. Liam Jones says, Houle and Hicks were terrible owners for Liverpool 15 years ago before FSG. The point is necessarily the nationality of the owners, but how competent they're. Exactly, Liam. Exactly, mate. I don't care where the owners are from, as long as they do a good job, and as long as their best interests are the club. I couldn't care where they're from. Roman Abramovich will buy the club if he's still a wealthy man. I think those days are gone. I think, he'd never be allowed to buy a club again. So, what is your real job? I am a finance IT consultant. Sean Thread says he's the only player in the team who's won a premiership. Hello there. Hope everything's well. So I just came in. Not a problem at all, my friend. I hope you're doing extremely well. Is Maguire the sort of player that would be better if he had a better centre-back pairing? Maguire can play in a 3, but the thing is, Maguire, there's 2 things that with Maguire that you can't fix: his age and pace. He's older, which you can't fix, and you can't fix speed. So, it's coming to a point where Harry Maguire is naturally getting older, and there's nothing you can do about that. There's maybe with a younger Maguire, yes, but there's. It's like you've got and this is going to sound bad, right? But it's like you've got an old dog, right? And you're trying to make this old dog trying to teach it new tricks, or you're trying to get this dog to do brand new things. It's just old. And I'm not likening Maguire to a dog, by the way. I'm just saying that, Maguire is not getting younger. And it's going to come a point where it doesn't matter who you pair him with. It's still going to be the same outcome. The business can only be as successful if it is well run from the top down. If you have satellite owners who are the best or indifferent to achieving success, I agree with you. Completely agree with you. Agree with you completely, mate. It has to be well run. The rhetoric and the ethos of the club comes from the people that own the club. And yes, as you say, you can still have managers or players or some people in the club that are not great, that can upset things. But if the ethos of the owner and they're well run and they're well, the structure of the club is strong and they have clear ideas of where the business should go, it's normally the business will survive. But as you say, if there are satellite owners, or if somebody wants to run a different part of the business in like their own way, that you're at 100% correct. And this is why we will suffer, because this is all about Glazers trying to maximize the money, and Ineos trying to think that they can do something because they think that they're clever. And I'm starting to think that their empire or their plan is starting to fall to pieces. Rob, legend of the chat. Evening all. Hello, my friend. Benja, hello. Legend. Joker Gamer says, good. Get rid of Bruno and Maguire. The standard. Manchester should never be allowed these types of leaders. I agree completely. Sign a big, strong, nasty centre mid with a big mouth forget his talent. That will be perfect signing. The trouble is they don't make players like that anymore. I agree with you. Agree with you. Tulip Play says hello. Hi JB. Hello Tulip Legend. Tulip Play says we need this takeover. Tired of the clowns in charge. Tulip, I'm with you. Talk about it like Luke Shaw. Why do we still play him? We play Luke Shaw because I don't know. I think the reason why we play Luke Shaw is because every manager that we have, we don't have good players, so they have to turn to the senior pros, and then the senior pros throw them under a bus. It's going to be very hard to get new players who want to join the club and get some of the others out. I agree. Rob says, JB, what's your opinion on this potential takeover? Can you see this happening, and could it wipe Sir Jim out? Maybe there's hope for us. Right. I'll give you my opinion on that as well. Hope you're well. Just home from Scotland. Belarus game. Nicaruzzo. Amazing. Hassan Ali. Oh, I will come back to you, Rob. Hassan Ali says, you old brother, get a new life. Bro, get a life. What's really funny is I guarantee you, Hassan, I look younger than you. I guarantee you. I guarantee. Hassan, you're vile. I don't know what the problem is. If you don't like me or the channel, it's completely free, Hassan. And I'm going to be nice tonight. I could be mean, but I'm not going to. Feel free to do one, mate. Absolutely no problem. I'm not talking to you. Shut up. I love it. Don't feel it, man. I'm just joking around. Jesus, Hassan. Jesus. Calm. Bloody hell, mate. Give yourself a heart attack, my friend. Just relax. Okay, so what do I think? Okay, so at the top of the show, and I've given my opinion on this, and I'll give you my view. Right, again. So number one, this is total crap. Okay, it's the international break and it's complete crap. Two, this is an investment ploy by Ineos, like they did. So this is an investment ploy by the Glazers, like with Ineos, or they basically go, look, we're making we've made the most profit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play on the side of we're going to sell, and I'll tell you for what, and I'll give you reasons why, because I've already given you reasons why I think is an investment, but I'll give you reasons as to why I think this can be a full sale. We've just made £668 million, the most money I think we've ever made, right? The most money we've ever made for the attendance of home games, I think, by any club. Our brand awareness is massive. Our profits and our partnership deals are huge. And yet we still made a loss. We're still losing money, right? There is the debt. Not only the debt of the club still hanging there, there is the debt of previous players that we've bought. So that total debt is £1.2 billion. That debt needs to be serviced. We don't have, you got to think about the players that we have as well. We're scrambling around to get money for these players. So we're probably going to lose out on a big chunk of these players as well. We're going to have to sell them basically just to break even. Where do we get this money from? Now, we've used levers. So Ineos have basically gone, right, we've cut half of the staff. We don't give money to this anymore. We've cut kits for the youth team. We don't give them, lunches anymore. They've done all these cuts, right? And we need to bear this in mind as well. If we don't have European football next season again, our profit will go down as well. So it could well be that we've come to the point and they've looked at the numbers and gone, we actually cannot do this anymore. Now, also, one of the major factors is that they have the land. The regeneration project for them is a cash cow. But there are so many problems here. They need investment because they're not going to build the stadium. They're not going to build it. They need investment to buy that. Freight line is still there. They're dragging their heels. That could take years. So it could even be as simple as it's going to take so long and so much money to even get this plan off of the ground, right? And for them to make the same amount of profit that they would make from the sale of the club, it might take them 15 years. It might take them even longer. So I think that could be a massive factor. That could be one of the biggest factors here that we're not thinking about, is how difficult it has it now become financially for them to own this club. And I think that the credit card is maxed out. I think they can't pull assets. They can't sell stuff. The only thing, and also as well, to bear this in mind, they also need to cut costs while also building a successful team on the pitch. Because as we all know, the more successful you are on the pitch, the more money that you make, the more cash comes into the club. And we're not doing that. So it could just be a perfect storm. It could be a perfect storm that their plan that Ineos have come in to try to make this work isn't working. I still think that this is an investment ploy. I still think that this is the Glazers saying, we need somebody to come in and build the stadium. We'll give you 20% of the shares. I don't know. You build the stadium. You can own the stadium. You can have naming rights on the stadium, because don't forget, UAE, Qatar, like different, could come in, probably get this all done in 3-4 years. They would probably own a large percentage of it. And as I say, they invested £3 billion in this. They'd make 6 or 7. It's a winner. So I am of the opinion, only on the basis that I don't trust the Glazers. We've been here before. I believe this is some sort of investment. But Rob, there is a really significant chance here that this is a sell, because we basically have no money. Space Cadet Shap Hassan, you're probably in your Slinky Boss. Don't come in people's videos telling them to get a life. Thank you guys. Thank you. Kevin says, we appreciate that Maguire and Shaw have done for this club. They are both slacking and they need they don't deserve a new contract. Wixon says, hello, glory, Man United. Countries overseas spend more money on their youngsters coming through the system to become young professionals in the game more than we do. That's why there's so many foreign very, very good players. I agree. But as a serious fan, I don't see United being bought by another entity or person. They would need to give $5 billion to the Glazers, 1.4 to the bank in their debt, another $500 million for transfers, payments, and $1 billion to rebuild. And I think that's and I think, my friend, I think you raise a good point. Really, you raise a fantastic point. But my caveat to that, though, is this, right? While that is all true, the Glazers would need to do a cut price deal, because if they cannot afford to run the club, it's basically a bit like if you went out and you owned, say you inherited a mansion, a country house worth £100 million, right? It's got 100 rooms in it. It's all yours. You own it, right? But you can't afford the electric bill. You can't afford the groundskeeper bill. You basically can't afford to keep the house. You can't afford to run the house. And then you have a plan to say, look, okay, we will rent out some of the rooms. We will let people come into the house, and you can charge them £6-7, right? You do all that and you still can't afford to run the house. What do? You got to sell it. So, whilst I agree with you, but the Glazers it may come to a point when the Glazers go, look, it's going to be 5.7 all in, and that includes the debt, that includes the transfers, that includes all that. There is no way, that I say that, but we all know what the Glazers are like. We all know, or the Glazers may have to accept that deal, that 5.7 deal, will have to include the whole lot. There is no way, as you say, somebody's going to come in, give them premium for the club, and 1.4 on top, and another £1 billion. But you're right, 100% right. Let's see what happens. Wagson says hello. Can I know more about? Said hello. What's your stance on United at the moment? I think it's really simple for me. Really simple. All right, we are the biggest club in England, and again, no, Liverpool could have a claim to that as well. That depends on who you support, right? In my opinion, we're the biggest club. People don't like it from other clubs because we still make a load of money. We probably made some of the most money that we've ever made. We're a massive club, but we are an irrelevant club. We're a club who are toxic. We are building tech. We don't know what we're doing. We've been led by Ineos, who don't know what they're doing. We're owned by some of the most vile creatures that you could ever wish to meet. I'm sure they're lovely people. We're a mess. The club is a mess, and it shows. Club is a mess off the pitch and shows on the pitch. We're a wonderful club. We're just a mess right now. With the creation of a Super League bubbling under the surface, I don't see the Glazers selling their golden goose. Owning United is like a status symbol too. Agree. I don't see UAE buying United, as they are already owning the biggest club in Manchester. Yes, I need to. Yeah, but it would be different, wouldn't it? As Abu Dhabi. Now, I'm not going to start commenting on the geography that I'm not 100% on, but I'm sure as hell that Abu Dhabi is different. And I know the UAE covers quite a bit of stuff, but there's all different kingdoms, isn't there? So I don't think Abu Dhabi, it would be impactful if UAE or one of the countries under UAE came and owned United. It'd be completely different. Now, I might be wrong in that. I do need to do some research on that, but I don't think that matters. But again, the Super League, I think the Super League's dead. Right? The Super League can bubble away all it likes. The Super League is dead. I think the Champions League, the UEFA, I think they've dispelled that. I think what they've done with the format, I think, is pretty much destroyed. So I'm not bothered about that. I think that's why the Glazers wanted to sell in the first place, is because the Super League is dead. Unless something drastically happens, unless it's backed by, I don't know, whatever money, Saudi money, Dubai money, whatever it is, that Super League's gone, mate. So I'm not too concerned about that. United needs to find around 100 million from somewhere in order to offset the absence of a European competition. Exactly. They do. Helco says, yeah, better than playing once a week. These players can't learn. We need extra money. We need extra friendlies. We'll never sell the club. Look, all I'm saying right here and now, I think I am probably with Halco and Bart on this one. I think that the Glazers are looking for investment. But I think to give people hope, I can see major reasoning why they would want to sell the club. The main expense is always the salaries of the first team. It is, but also the debt. But I think the debt, mate, the debt is the biggest burden. You must get a lot of money from all the sponsorships. We do, Wayne, but it all gets spent. Can't feed the workers other than Constitution. You buy food for the workers. If money is so tight, why did they not sell the likes of Bruno in the summer window? But that is the question, isn't it? We were led to, from PSR perspective, I know that we're fine, but That's a good question. There are two theories around that. Is number one, there's a credit facility, so a credit card, and they obviously think that Bruno is too important to sell. Mate, this is what you never know with this club. You will never know the truth. Okay, but what is abundantly clear, if you look at the financial statements of this club, we are out of money. So I'm baffled. I mean, I know what I would have done, and I know what my eyes and what I've read have taught me is that we need to sell to buy. So why we didn't sell Fernandes is beyond me. City makes around 75 million every single summer by selling unwanted players. Their academy also. Yeah, but mate, you are talking facts, absolute facts. Why is Bruno at fault? Why is it Bruno's fault that he should be solution to better? United, our best player on the team. Yeah, let's sell him and get relegated. Look, mate, appreciate the opinion. I think people have an opinion on Fernandes. My opinion on Fernandes is this: he's not a captain. He doesn't have the mentality. Is Bruno the best player? You can argue yes. He hasn't been good for 2 years. My eyes don't lie. I watched every single game, and my eyes do not lie. Bruno Fernandes is a stat padder. Bruno Fernandes has tantrums on the pitch. Bruno Fernandes, as I've said, is not a captain. He's petulant. He goes disappearing. Where was he in the final? Where did he go for that game? I mean, the final to get us into the Champions League, where we needed a captain in there to get us over the line. Look, and this is no disrespect to Spurs. Spurs weren't great. Spurs were awful. Spurs probably had one of their worst teams. I think they had 6 first-team players out, and they still beat us. Where was the best player that day? So, look, I thank Bruno for the things that he's done. I'm done with Bruno. I want Bruno gone. Bruno is the past. Bruno infects and impacts this team, and I want him gone. But I absolutely respect people's opinions and that they like Fernandes. I get it. Bro, we're not selling the club. Why can't you not understand? But how can? And look, unless you're giving me insider facts here, which I don't think you are, I can only go by what I'm reading. I go by what I think is logically correct. But Halco, if you listen to what I said, I don't think we're selling the club either. If you listen to what I've been saying, I've given you an opinion as to why I think we can sell the club. I don't think we will sell the club. I think this is about getting investment because the Glazers can't afford to build the stadium. So I think, and I may be wrong in this one, that I think that the Glazers want investment, and what the Glazers are doing is they don't want to sell the club and they want somebody to pay for the stadium. This is what I'm saying to you. This is what I think. But Halco, you have to take on board that there is a possibility that this club could be sold. It's out there. So there is no point in, look, we've got to look at all of the facts, right? Could it be crap? Yes. Could it be Glazers want to stay and they're looking for investment? Yes. Could it be that they want to sell the club? Yes. I'm of the opinion right now that they don't want to sell the club and they want somebody to foot the bill. But I get your stance. But I'm with you. I don't think that they're going to sell the club. When it says keep your stadium and build an extension, that would save your money and think the fans would be up for it. Wayne, the problem is that it would cost more money to update and refurb the stadium than it would to build a new stadium. I would much prefer to update the stadium, but the way that Ineos and the Glazers see it now, it's all about money, right? Ineos and the Glazers want to build a new stadium because it's cheaper. I'm with you. I would 100% keep the stadium, whatever it costs, to extend it, redo it, make it a better stadium. And if those are the owners that we get, from day one, I'd be owners in. But the owners that we have are going to knock it down, and they're going to build a new stadium because for two reasons. Number one, it's cheaper to build a stadium. And number two, they don't want a football stadium. They want an entertainment area. And that is why they want to do it. It's because they want an entertainment-centric Wembley of the North, or where, but that is what they want to do. So the reason why they want to knock it down is, number one, it is too expensive to regenerate, but that's what I would do. And they basically want to build an entertainment stadium capable of NFL, capable of hockey, capable of entertainment, of shows. And that is why, Wayne, that is exactly what they want it to do. Liam says that isn't feasible. Its only option to extend the stadium requires cutting off a train track. And again, you make a good point as well. Even if they refurbish the stadium, I'd much prefer them to do that as well. But with Qatar, or UAE, or it could be a situation where they do buy the freight line out, and they do that. It's speculation. Agree with Wayne. Spent a lot of time at the ground. United are a team close to my heart, and even as old as it is, there's no stadium compared to it. Look, I'm with you. The devastating point of all this is that the Glazers, and when people say that Ineos are doing a great job, and they are they're trying to do some good stuff, right? I take it on board, right? But my comeback is always this: when you've got a family who've come to this club, never looked after the stadium, have let that stadium fucking rot to the ground, to the point where it's cheaper to build a new stadium than it is to fix it. And then you've got a lifelong fan, apparently a lifelong fan, who then comes in and props up these absolute arseholes and backing them in knocking down the stadium and backing them in building a new stadium. I mean, what lifelong fan would be on board? What one of us would go, I know I'm going to go to United, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look around and go, do you know what? I'm going to, guys, you've let this stadium rot. We've got rats. We've got, the roof is leaking. But no. I'm a lifelong fan. I'm going to back you and give you money to continue doing what you're doing, and I'm going to knock this all down. What United lifelong fan would want to knock down the stadium? And that's what Ineos are letting the Glazers do, or backing the Glazers to do. It is just. If United look to refurbish, would you like them to play their home games at Anfield or Etihad or Ellen Road? I don't know. I mean, you could build a temporary stadium. I don't know. Anfield is a no-no. Etihad. I mean, look. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, you know what, right? Part of me, and this is probably a ridiculous thing to say, but I genuinely believe, right, Liverpool fans are more respectful and would, and you can correct me here, I think Liverpool fans are probably the most respectful and some of the most prideful fans, that I think that they would, just out of sheer respect, would let United play the games there. I do. The guys, nothing to give that we don't already know. Halco, I don't know. Halco's getting a bit annoyed. Pedro Silva says, Bart is a serious fan. In a dream world, a consortium led by Beckham would be owning United. Halco says the Glazers won't sell. But Halco, You don't know. There is evidence to contradict what you're saying. So you can shout down the screen, put as many capitals as you like. Halco, you're getting annoyed at me, but I'm agreeing with you. I don't think the Glazers will sell the club. I don't think that's what the Glazers want. But you cannot deny, there is no deniability. It's out there from probably one of the most credible sources out there in relation to Middle East Saudi deals. There's so many credible people that's saying that United want to sell the club. That's not me pulling it out of my arse. That's out there. So for you to sit there and say the Glazers won't sell, you can't say that because something is going on. Whether they will or they won't, nobody knows. But I think that they want investment. So, Helco, I am with you. I don't think the Glazers want to sell. I don't think the Glazers will sell. But I cannot deny that there is a possibility that they will. And I don't know why that annoys you so much. Exactly. No, they just wanted to please our ears. I mean, Halco, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, look, Halco. So I wouldn't say you're a better club than Liverpool. No, wait. I mean, that's. I mean, I personally am not suggesting that at all. I think we're a different club to Liverpool. I think United, Liverpool always respect you, Wayne, and always respect Liverpool. I'm not suggesting we're a better club. I'm suggesting that I think that we're a better club because I support United. It doesn't mean I think that you're a worse club. It's just from perspectives. Halco, mate, don't be rude. Halco, whether or not you like Liverpool or not, we have Liverpool fans on here that are very, very respectful, like Wayne. And as I've said at the top of the show, we do things differently on here. We will respect each other's views, and if you don't, then you will go. This is not a United channel that we deem in extremities, right? There are other channels out there for that. If you want to shout, scream, and disrespect each other, go over there. But we will not disrespect each other's views. We can disagree, happily disagree, because everybody's going to have their opinion and we do not agree on every single thing. But this is a platform that gives people a voice. And if you don't like it, Halco, fuck off. Simple as that. Blue Game says, surprise stream. Hello, my friends. Yeah, I know I've been bad. Yeah, I'm back. Rob says, JB, what are your thoughts on Sir Jim's interview given Amorin 3 years? If the results are bad, surely he won't last 3 years. If no improvements, also were you at the Amorin with Amorin? Thanks. So interesting with the Sir Jim interview, there was a language expert there. And basically they're saying, based on the body language, Sir Jim wasn't being true. Look, Sir Jim's talking out of his arse. I think I have spoken about this before. Look, it's basically business. It's a business mandate, right? What Ineos are trying to do are classic business, big business brand sense is that they're trying to protect their brand. And they're trying to lessen the noise. So for Jim to come out and say, "Oh, we're going to give him 3 years," whilst I agree, I conceptually agree that he absolutely needs time, and he absolutely needs time to build a squad. He's not going to be given 3 years, is he? Let's just say he goes and loses against Liverpool, Brighton, Forest, Spurs. He loses those 4 games, he's not going to keep his job, is he? So, it's a classic. Let's try and shift the media away. Let's try and give him 3 years. We all know he's just talking out of his arse. It's it's a business play. It's a let's just try to quell. Let's just get on top of this now and try to shut everybody down, because he's not going to get that time. Do you speak the king's or queen's English now? Neither. I speak English. Liverpool, we have to beat them if Amorim wants to regain his fans' trust. I agree. Halco, who are you? Exactly. Look, Wayne, don't let him wind you up. Yeah, I do know them. They never put, Halco. Wayne, just for you, Wayne, Halco is gone, because, as I've said before, look, we get people like Wayne on this channel who've been on here for many, many weeks, months now, and what we do on here is we're a United channel, right? And as we respect, or I personally do anyway, that other people's views and opinions, and this sort of show is we'll take it out there and we'll talk about all different sorts of different stuff. But the one thing I cannot tolerate, I cannot abide on here, is that this is not a sensationalist platform, right? Where we're not going to start, if you want to call each other out and do that stuff, because I read the chats out, you're gone. Because this channel is not about that. If you're annoyed and you're petty and you basically want to call people out because you're unhappy with your life and you want to be rude, and to people like Wayne who are supporters or who've been a supporter of mine and this channel, nah, not for me. Our real concern should be the fact that no academy players has contributed a goal assist this season, accumulating a total of just 3% of total minutes, and the last game had only one grad in the squad. And Bart, that's on my list of things to talk about as well. Yeah, I agree with you. This is what I mean about the Glazers. We are losing, and in Ineos, we are losing what this club is. We're losing what we should be. Whether or not youth players necessarily get onto the pitch, which they should do, that is what we're about. When you have a DNA as a club and an ethos as a club, you have to keep that. That is what separates you from the rest. I agree with you completely. Ronaldo says, hi, do you think Amorin will be here next season? Look, that is a different sort of Amorin question, okay, which I like, because you're asking about next season. I can't honestly say yes. I would give him till the end of the season. I would like him here. Do I think he'll be here next season? I think he will. But things can change. I think that Ineos can't afford to sack him. People may think that's crazy, like 15 million here or there. Ineos can't afford to sack him. And when I say afford to sack him, I don't just mean the monetary value. I mean they need to save face. They'll give him every opportunity because they want to save face. So I think probably he will be here. Halco, yeah, Halco's gone. Halco's gone. I listen to the person who runs the chat, not you. Nikarutsu, has had a lot of players who simply don't play for the badge because we have spoiled them with ridiculous wages. Exactly that. I think of plenty of United players through the years, ability-wise, not as good as Bruno. They've given 110% every game and put a shift in. Exactly. The likes of Mount, Shaw, Maguire, Delo, Casemiro, Ugarte, Lucha, and Xerxes all need to go. But I'm with you. I'm with you. Lucha, again, so let's get a little update on Lucha. So Lucha is due back the first week of November. And I've got to be completely upfront here. My first reaction to that is, so what? I mean, look, we've not had him for 2 years. Is Lucha the answer? No. Will he come in and bring a bit of steel? Yes. right? Look, anybody that comes in and I think will bring something to the team is him. But what state is he going to be in? Is he still going to be the combative? Is he still going to be able to? Is he going to be as quick as he was? Is he going to be, be able to get around the pitch anymore? Lucha comes back. Luke Shaw's still here. Maguire is still here. What happens to the other centre backs that we got? So Yoro, what happens to him? He's been phenomenal, heaven. So Lucha coming back, Maguire still being here, Luke Shaw. That will tell you everything you need to know. If the Glazers are still here next year, that's going to tell you everything that you need to know for next season. Lucha, Luke Shaw, Maguire will all still be here next season. That will tell you everything that you need to go. But I think Mason Mount needs to go. There are reasons for that. I think Luke Shaw, Maguire, Delo, Casemiro, Ugarte, Lucha, and Xerxes all need to go. I feel sorry for Xerxes. I don't dislike him. I don't want him to go because I don't think he's a good player. If he's not going to play, then I agree he needs to go. Real blue nose, mate. I love it. Get that they settle for a minority share. Atmos says none of them should get a new contract. Dark says hello, greetings from Argentina. Hello. Superfly guy, exactly. Rip the heart of the club. Shahakul, hello dude, hello my friend. Yeah, JB hit the nail on the head. That's similar to what Tom Wagner and Brady are doing at yeah. I mean, look, it's mate, it's I admire people that want to come in and just do something different. It is. This club is just. Also, do you think United will get top 4 this season? Andrew Kelso, look, I don't always want to be the betrayer or the person who comes on and says, I don't think that we can get 4, 5, 6, 10, right? All I'm saying is if we want to get top 4, I do want to try to word this in a slightly different way to what I normally do, because I would just say no. Do I personally think with this team that we can get top 4? No. Is getting top 4 possible? Yes. I'll give you answers. If we want to get top 4, somehow Rubin has to make this work. If we want to get top 4, somehow he has to get this team to gel. For us to get top 4, he then needs to go and get a midfielder, which we can come on to as well, because there's some news on that. He has to make this team work. He has to make that pivot work. He has to go and get a midfielder and put Manu in the team. And I think he has to absolutely just do something. Without those, we are nowhere near that top 4. Nowhere near. So, is it impossible? No. Do I believe it's possible? No. But stranger things have happened. I think there are factors, Andrew, that we can get into the top 4, but they are. I think it needs things to align. It also means this club needs to go and spend some money. Without money in the January window, we don't get top 4. Letitia says, when the club is locked down, where will United play their home games? That's a good question. I don't know. Hi, you probably don't remember me, but I was here a couple of weeks ago and you gave me Van Nistelrooy for an edit. Just wanted to say hi and just made an Arda Gula edit. Anyone who wants to check it, cool. I do, mate. I absolutely remember you, my friend. I hope you're doing extremely well. They will take all the memories away from knocking the stadium down. Exactly that. Liverpool fan here, but watching to see your opinion. Look, and as we say here, look, anyone that comes in here, like Halko, who's now gone because he's a prat, like that comes in here and just wants to cause issues, right? They absolutely want to come in here and they want to cause issues. But the thing is that in my view, right, is this. Football fans are very, very like, banter is absolutely, banter here, love the banter, right? But ultimately, there is nothing that separates football fans. And what I find really interesting on here, and the reason why I do these sorts of shows on here and invite as many people as we can on here, right? Is because I can learn from you guys. Like I will learn. Like I don't know necessarily about your club, so I may have an idea, but then I may want to take that idea and then we use that idea and then I talk to somebody in our fan base and we may come up with a different idea. And I as much as football is a rival because we all want to do things, I also think it's a collaborative thing because I do think that there is an attack on football clubs. And I think as difficult as this is sometimes, I think fans have to stand together. Banter wise, 100%. We're always going to think our club is the best. Always going to do those sorts of things, but I think as fans of clubs, I think we can learn a lot from each other. Do you think your number 7 has been cursed? No, I don't think it's been cursed at all. I don't believe in curses. I think we've given the number 7 to shit players. Nothing to do with the curse. It is because we've given the number 7 shirt to shit players. Philip Rome, legend, there's a middle ground solution. If the Glazers been a good sporting manager and let all the sporting decisions on him while giving him full financial support, the Glazers will never do that. Never have done it. The problem, number 1, is financially. Financially, in this model that we have, we're dead. We're dead. We are dead. Give you some of these chats. Alan, most underrated United player of all time. I think the most underrated United player of all time is probably Dennis Irwin. United, if we're talking from a United fan perspective, I think they probably know him. But I think Dennis Irwin, probably one of the most underrated United players in terms of outwardly. I think Beckham gets a disrespect. I think Beckham is really well known, but I think there's a narrative around him. I think Gary Pallister, you could argue that, and an absolutely amazing player. Paul Ince, but I think that Irwin. I think Irwin's probably the most underrated player. If you're looking at an outside looking in, I think it's Irwin. Billy the Fish. Billy the Fish hilarious. Mark Harris, legend of the chat, my friend. Missed you, mate, the last few shows. What are Shaw and Maguire below? Bruno still in the first team. United cannot let go of these bums with a clueless manager. There's just a mid-table relegation coming. Mark, obviously, legend, my friend. Relegation, I don't think we will go down, but I agree with you. I agree that this club terrifies me with the players they're keeping, new contracts on offer. I agree with you. Ineos said that we'll never win anything with kids by the looks of it. I agree. What's up? I'm Batman. Welcome. Black says, I stopped watching football when Ferguson stepped down. Only watched YouTube footy recently. I'm Batman says, are you Irish? No. Phil K says, please repent. Phil K, I have not lived I don't need to repent yet. Try to get 6th when you're qualified for European League, as you know exactly. I'm not a Man United fan, but I am a Fenerbahce fan. So get all the team who spend a lot on transfers but cannot deliver. I think United should use their academy more and don't spend big on the market. The problem with academy players is this. I don't disagree, right? But if you bring academy players into this squad, there is nobody to nurture them, right? You need to nurture these players. And I think there's a big misconception. Whilst I agree that you need what I want youth players, but there isn't anybody in this team that can protect them to nurture these players. If you brought in, for example, a Kone into the midfield and played him at Anfield, he'd get dusted. He'd be absolutely dusted. Under 21s is different to men's football. So whilst I agree in principle we need to bring in more youth players, they'll get dusted. Shaba was lucky. The Premier League was shit when he was a manager. Shaba talking out of your arse, but that's fine. Fellaini. Hello, Yashin, Shaba, Ince, Erwin Ince. Come on, if there's terrible players, should wins. Shaba's clearly about 12. Shaba, I can already sense a little bit of tension. I can already sense that you're a little bit gonna try to stir up the pot a little bit, Shaba. So you're on that line. I don't mind banter, but I'm just pre-warning you that I think you're going to be walking that line. It's like when Yotto got, most of the league clubs all come together and put their differences aside. Exactly, Wayne, 100%. Ferguson got lucky. Yeah, Shaba. Yeah. Anyone watching America versus Morocco? No. First time here. What's the topic, please? So mate, this is a Sunday night show. United, we talk about them. We've gone through a couple of bits and pieces. There is some bits and pieces that I will go through towards the end as well. Just want to get through the chats. United have been found out for what they are, basic mid-table team at the very best. Shaba. Wait, wasn't there a song? Shaba, yeah. Just scored another goal of the season. Scott, send it over. United are rotten, always have been. Now they're being found out. Shaba. I don't need to say anything to you because I don't need to, my friend. Because you're just exposing yourself, so it's fine. Right, so the other news topics just before I go. So Bruno. So Bruno, one of the other topics as well, which I think is really important to go over, is Bruno Fernandes during his international break. I sort of missed it as well. And on this whole, is he going to leave next year for Saudi? Because you can't, my friend, you know it's true. No, Shaba, I don't need to come back to you, Shaba, because it's not true. And I don't, look, if I was to come back to you, you're a City fan, Shaba. Oh, okay. All right, mate. Look, Shaba, mate, it's just, I know, Wayne, look, Wayne. The thing is, Wayne, you've got people like Shaba who probably think that Liverpool in the 80s were probably, lucky as well, winning those European Cups. We got the fact that Shaba is a City fan. I guarantee you, Shaba is about 20, 19, 20, maybe one of those glory hunters who probably couldn't name a City fan pre-2008. So, but he might have a point on the fact that Ferguson was very, very lucky. Really, really lucky to win a European Cup with Aberdeen, to win the league with them as well. Very, very lucky. To win a European Cup and probably play in the Premier League era, where it's probably the toughest. Probably some of the best players of all time. It was really lucky. I know. He's really, really lucky to win all those leagues as well. Against probably some of the best players that the Premier League has ever seen. Probably some of the toughest Premier League players, and the best that we've ever seen. And then be able to do that over 26 years. I mean, 26 years of luck, is ridiculous, isn't it? Not a City fan, but they brought that. Yeah, Shaba, look, thank you. So you do agree what I'm saying is you call me out? No, Shaba, I don't think you agree, my friend. And obviously what you don't agree with, Shaba, is when somebody is, trying to take the mick out of you, mate. I mean, look, Shabba, this is not the Shabba show. I'll give you one more opportunity and keep on crap, mate. And it's really easy to get rid of Shabba. So Shabba, I'll give you a chance, mate. Shabba show, yeah, mate. I'll give you a chance. And if you continue, my friend, then yeah, Shabba. What if I was you, Shabba? I wouldn't create a show, mate, because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. So Fernandez, anyway, Fernandez. So I've got a quote from Fernandez. So for those of us who are Fernandez in, out, I am Fernandez out, fully in that camp. He said that what is your top five in the league? Okay. What is my top five? So my top five is going to be I'm still of the opinion that Liverpool will get it together. I think they're too good. I think you're going for. I think you have to look at Liverpool or Arsenal. Don't discount City. So I would say I still think Liverpool are going to come good. You know, they haven't been playing well, but I still think that when they do play well, they'll come good. I think Liverpool first. I think Arsenal second. I think City third. You know, City are coming back into it as well, but let's see what Pep can do. So I think Liverpool first. I think Arsenal second. I think City third. Fourth, you could argue probably Chelsea. Newcastle. Look, I think Newcastle. If Newcastle weren't in the Champions League, I think they'd have a good shout for fourth or fifth. I think Newcastle. I think the Champions League might impact you. I think Chelsea fourth, and then take a pick. You know, Newcastle potentially fifth. I mean, you know, it's so early to tell. It's so early to tell. So I think you're probably going to get the same, pretty much the same as we sort of had last season. Spurs. You know, you can't discount Spurs either. So, you know, I would probably say I'd go Liverpool first, Arsenal second, City third, Chelsea fourth, Spurs, Newcastle fifth or sixth, and then you are looking at like your Brightons and that kind of stuff. So I would like to think in an ideal world with Newcastle playing Champions League, because it does take a toll. Spurs playing Champions League as well, and for us playing one game a week, I'd like to think that we could get into that race for fifth or sixth. We should be getting into that race. I don't know. So I think it's going to be there or thereabouts. I think the top three is locked down. Liverpool, if I was pushed, Arsenal second, City third. I think it's going to be close between those three. And then you're going to have one of Chelsea, Newcastle, Spurs. Yeah. Biometric says you should do a door giveaway like KSI in winter's night. Not a lot of people have wood for doors. I love it. United ain't there. Shabba. Ferris was lucky he should manage to this. I wouldn't say Ferguson was lucky he brought all the right players and he was an absolute legend and United great. Fergie best. Look, Fergie was lucky he couldn't manage United in this day and age. I agree with you. Wow, you wouldn't even put United above Spurs. Well, Shabba, no, I don't put them because we're awful. Because we finished 15th last season. What? Look, what you get on here with me is you don't get some United fan who's going to say, "Oh, we're going to win the league," and then I don't shout and I don't scream. I try and be as logical as I can. I would love us to finish fourth or fifth, but I just don't see it happening, mate. Roham says, yeah, nobody care about those English teams. What do you think about Barca? Roham, I'd probably conversely say that I think 1 billion United fans would disagree with you. I think probably close to 1 billion Liverpool fans would disagree with you as well. I think a truckload of City fans would agree with you as well. I think a bunch of Chelsea fans would disagree with you. I think the money in the English league would disagree with you as well. So what do I think about them? I respect them, but I don't care about them. I have no interest in the Spanish league at all. I respect the Spanish league. I respect the top 2 or 3 clubs, but I have no interest in the Spanish league. What do you think about Everton this season? Do you know what? That's a very, 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 very good point. Everton could have a sneaky little 6th place as well. Look, Everton are one of those clubs that, are one of those clubs that you want to see do well. Obviously, unless you're a Liverpool fan, which I get, right? But they've got some good players. They've got Moyes who can do a job. Could Everton even get into the top 5 or 6? You just don't know. They've got no pressure on them this season. They've got they've brought some decent players in. Moyes is doing well. They seem to be on the up. So, I think that they could have a really, really good season this year. Are you a software engineer? No, I'm not. Spurs embarrassed United. Yes, they did. Watching from Nigeria. Thank you, Harrison. I hope you're doing extremely well, my friend. Exactly why he couldn't manage this day and age with the squad worse than Spurs. How would Fergie, the best ever, manage that part of shit? Agree with you. Behind Spurs, Roham, look, mate. I promise you, I'm not, mate. And if you think I am, I apologise, but I'm just giving an opinion, my friend. Shabba, mate. Yeah. I would say don't bother arguing with Shabba, because I think I want whatever Shabba's having, because Shabba is just I think Shabba's one of these people in life. He just annoys people. I think Shabba is one of these people that could go into an empty room and argue with himself. So I wouldn't even bother. Don't worry about Shabba. Shabba's just one of these people that I reckon at school he was that annoying kid that nobody liked. I think it's going to be a very close season with a few shocks. So do I. Ben Virus says, who's this guy? Well, me or Shabba? Did you ever make it far playing when you was younger, Elliot? No. I had trials. Everybody has trials, right? I got to like semi-pro, not a very, very good team. I was always very, 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 very fast, but I got injured a lot. So I was probably an above average player, but nothing more than that, mate. Spurs didn't embarrass United. United did that to themselves. AD, I agree with you. Hemant Kumar, hello, my friend. Martin Fay, hello. Shabba loves a reaction. He does. Sending a spooky pumpkin. Thank you. Ben, thank you. Yeah, thanks, mate. The one thing, Ben, I like about that is I'm loving the banter via emojis. I admire banter through a creative means. So I respect that completely. Any emoji banter is fine with me, mate. Where we go? Manchester is blue. No, it's not. I love it. City fans, any City fan who thinks United is blue, I think you're very deluded. As it's gone to show many times, United are the biggest club, the biggest English club. Doesn't mean that we're the best. Liverpool, I'd probably say, are second, really, really close to first. You could argue Liverpool are probably You could argue that they're more successful than us. I mean, I would argue against it only because of my bias, but trust me. City, no. They're not the biggest team in the world. They did have, but the best manager, and they're not the biggest team in the world anymore. Who will get the GTA Wolfmead and Gyökeres? Okay, Wolfmead is he's brilliant. It's going to be Haaland. Gyökeres is not even in that conversation. I don't think he's in that conversation whatsoever. I think what you've got to factor in, and I know you don't want to hear it, but Isak, I know you don't want to hear it. I apologise. Isak, Haaland, Wolfmead, and Ekitike. I think that Haaland. I think Wolfmead will get more assists. I think Haaland will get more goals. So I've got to go with Haaland because I think his goals will vastly outweigh any of Wolfmead's assists. But you've got an interesting striker there. City is red forever, exactly. You're living in the past, old man. I might be old, my friend, but I'll still outdo you any day of the week, my friend. Easily. I don't think I am, mate. Look at any demographic of size of club, size of fan base, anything that you like. United are still the biggest club, but no, it's fine. You can live under a rock. You can stick your fingers in your ears and not listen, but none offense taken. None offense. Listen, this is what this channel is about: banter. And you come in. Shabba now is just people can say what they want about United, but the way I see it, I'm 31 and I've had most of my life watching the best football in the world, so I count myself lucky. Now it's just the circle of the Premier League. I agree. As Wayne says, United, Liverpool are the greatest over the decades. I agree with Wayne. Did you used to be a teacher? No, I didn't, mate. This is just my this is just some old shit that I put on tonight. No, I didn't, my friend. 42-year-old, you must be joking. I know, mate. I do look older. I'm Satan. City only have Haaland now. Arsenal have had a good run for a while. There's only team that could have completed that United squad. If you don't think Ronaldo, Giggs, Bex, Rooney, Scholes is a real team, I agree. Alex, yeah, if that's what you think, mate, EPL was... Isak is an all-right striker. He had good stretches of matches, but he did have bad patches. Might be a bit biased, but I think he'll flop. Look, I think for 120 million, was it? The chances are he's going to flop. So, I think Haaland is going to win that debate anyway. Janus says, hello from Turkey. Hello, my friend. Nikarusi says, what's with you, Yoke? Second myself to insult you by calling you old. What the hell? Look, mate. It's easy money, isn't it? Easy money, mates. Easy money. When people have nothing to contribute to a debate, they go, "Oh, you're old, you're ugly." Easy, mate. Easy money. I don't think I know he saved my life. Look, mate. Alex, I hope that you are well, and when you mean he saved your life, I mean I hope you are talking from a metaphorical perspective. But if not, then I hope you're okay. Considering I had arguably the best player in the world, top 3 ever, I hardly doubt that. yeah, like Shabba's just in here to annoy people tonight. Haaland looks like a Wallace and Gromit character. Copper or glass vessels are best. Don't know, mate. I'll go glass. 42 is not old. I'm a tiny bit. Mate, these last couple of days I've been feeling my age. Yeah. Age is just a number. Age is just a number, people. Shabba, I'm reading you out. Look, Alex, mate. Look, sorry to hear that, my friend. Alex, one of the things I'm really passionate about is men's health. So it does pain me to hear you say that, my friend. And I'm pleased that you're still here. So, and I think whatever means that you can find to still be here is amazing. So, mate, I'm really pleased for you. I do hope that you're okay, my friend. Yeah, I mean, look, Shabba, I think we're all getting bored, mate. And it's really easy, Shabba, to get rid of you. So, Shabba. Oh, Shabba. Mate, I gave you a chance. I gave you a chance, Shabba. I gave you a chance. And now you're on the naughty step for being a naughty boy, maybe tomorrow. So Shabba's gone. And Shabba learns his lesson, then he can come back tomorrow. So, guys, I'm going to go 2 hours. Absolutely amazing. Ridiculously amazing 2-hour show. Plastic bottles, yeah. Putting it out there, Newcastle, depending on the draw, might get to the UEFA Champions League quarterfinals as long as we don't face Madrid or any other league winners in the top 5. Look, it could happen. It could happen. It could happen. Darker Sheila says, bro, this English accent is just so good. Thank you, my friend. It's we do have a interesting accent. So guys, I am going to go 2 hours tonight. Amazing stuff. As I say, the reason why it takes so long, these shows take so long, is because I do literally just try and read out all of your chats. It's really, really important to me for you guys to get your opinions out there. And as I say, I can only thank you guys so much to be here. You guys make this channel what it is. You make the 2 hours fly by. Guys, you just brilliant. There are no words. So thank you so much for being here. Yeah, we are pushing 17,000, I think, now as well. So we're on the journey to 18,000, 19,000. And thank you for subbing, my friend. We'll keep on going and going and going. When I think the last count, I think it's 16 and a half, I think 17, something along those lines. So we're gonna keep on pushing through. We'll be back to daily shows as well next week. We'll be back to evening shows. I'll do roughly 2 shows a day. If anything breaks, I will be back on as well. So we'll start pushing it more next week. I will be back on. I'll be doing the watch along next week for Liverpool and United as well next week. So and there'll be shows as well and that kind of stuff next week as well. So we just keep pushing, guys. This channel, as I say, it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's basically because of you amazing guys and you supporters as well. So thank you so much. What's your prediction for next week? I so want to be positive. I so want to be positive. So this is where I'm at right now on the game, right? Is that Liverpool haven't been playing great. I think the international break for them has come at the perfect time. I think we played okay. We've been playing very, very up and down. All right. The question for me here is that what Liverpool come out after the international break. Well, that's where I'm at on it. So I think if we have the same Liverpool that went into the international break, I think we get a draw. If we have the Liverpool of last season, I think we get beat. So I think for me, as sad as it is, I think if we could come away with a draw, I'm a very happy man. So I think it's going to be a very, very close game. I do think it will be. If we go there with a two-man pivot of Casemiro and Fernandes, I'm worried. I am worried. So that's all I'm saying. I think I would go for a draw. I'm going to go for a draw, but it absolutely, totally depends on Liverpool and what Liverpool come out. So yeah, it is. And I hate to say it, in this game, I don't think it really matters what we do. I think if we even come out at our best and we catch Liverpool on a bad day, I think that's the only time that we can win. But other than that, if Liverpool come out like the champions that they are, then we'll lose, because we can't do anything more than what we are. So I think it's I think it's going to be a very nervy type game. Dougie says, Neville says you're far right, mate. Neville can kiss my ass. So Neville's a prat who's out of touch, and so Neville can swivel. So on that note, guys, thank you so much for being here. I will be back tomorrow, probably afternoonish time. We'll be back to 2 shows a day, do one in the morning, one in the evening time. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for being here. Legends, enjoy these shows. These are amazing. And I will be back tomorrow. So have a good rest of your morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you are. You guys are legends. And I'll be back tomorrow. So have a safe evening, morning, afternoon. And I'll come back tomorrow. See you later. Good night.